This is Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Time to catch up with our good friend Stevie Butler. Writes all the great articles for the West Australian. You know what he was doing on the weekend, just rubbing shoulders with the high end of town.
Yes, of course.
Telethon balls and whatnot, Steve. Good morning.
The lifetime to which I should be accustomed, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rubbing shoulders and balls. That's right, Steve.
You got it.
Who'd you hang out with?
Who did I hang out with? Well, pretty much them all, really. It was pretty spectacular. The ball on Saturday night and the Hoodoo Gurus, oh my God, they are still so good.
Were they?
Yeah, right.
Nathan's
goodness.
not convinced. Are you?
What do you know? No, the Hoodoo
you
Gurus are
convinced?
great. Yes.
They were absolutely awesome on Saturday night. Dave Faulkner just absolutely let rip. I thought it was one of the more spectacular live segments I've seen for a while, and it really enjoyed that a lot. And that was pretty interesting yesterday, watching Mark Nakara and Nick Nat-Nui having a chat with Luke Hodge, who they still probably hate for what they did to them in 2015 at the MCG.
Yeah.
So that was quite entertaining. But Hodgie's such a good bloke, and Xavier Ellis was trying to find some video to send to all his old Hawthorn mates of Luke lip-syncing to the Backstreet Boys. And Luke did suggest that he wondered where his life had come to after that performance yesterday.
Bloody lip syncing.
Nice.
There we go. Yeah, we were all made to do some interesting things.
Oh, made to. Yeah,
Oh,
made to.
yeah.
Made to.
Yeah.
Against your will.
Now, Steve, over the weekend there was a lot of sport happening. In particular, last night when the cricket took centre stage, and
Wow.
a lot of people were watching two countries that I don't know. You never thought you'd get drawn into seeing if you're not from India or Pakistan.
It's just amazing the sort of emotion that those subcontinent countries can manufacture for a cricket game, isn't it? And it happens all around the world when these sort of teams meet, whether it's Sri Lanka or Pakistan or India, and the noise and the frenetic nature of actually being at one of the games. If you've never been to a live game featuring one of those countries, you've got to go. I mean, the Indian people singing their songs in the breaks, and it's just spectacular to watch. And then you see the arguably one of their biggest legends, or he might well be their biggest legend of all time, Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
15 runs to get off 4 balls, and he gets them. I mean, he couldn't. I watch what Nick Nat-Nui has to go through at Telethon when everyone wants a selfie. And imagine Virat Kohli on the streets of Mumbai.
Yeah, not even close. Yeah, I don't think we could understand how full on that would be.
Would their houses be compounds with security and stuff?
Absolutely not. Yeah,
and they'd be on they'd have all the money. Yeah, all of it.
Yes,
all of it and some more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I suppose what that did last night. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I think he's getting paid around. So they're saying his net worth is about 115 million.
Wow,
it's probably conservative.
And 115 million, right? in such a poor place as well, you'd be able to afford all of it.
Can you remember the time when all us Test cricket lovers were saying, when these new short forms of the game came around, saying, "Oh, this won't last. This lasts about 3 days," and no one will ever this hit and giggle. I mean, it's become quite a spectacular staple in sport around the world, hasn't it? The T20.
Well, it's the best version of the game now.
Well, I still love Test cricket as a silly old traditionalist, but I must
but you've
say,
got
when
time,
you
Boomer, don't you? No one's got time anymore. No one's got time.
Yeah, man, you can't. I used to when I was a kid sit and mark every ball in a Test match in my book. Mum used to buy me a book.
Oh my God, you massive nerd!
Are you
that is
joking?
terrible stuff, isn't it? No, I used to, whether it was a dot ball or a one off that rival or a wide, I used to mark them all down in my book and keep them. And that's
Did you have any friends?
Unreal, Steve.
Any friends?
Did you say, did I have any friends?
So every game you pull your little notebook out and you'd mark all the stuff and keep the statistics. Is that normal, Shaun? Have you heard other people doing that?
Yeah, I have actually, some real passionate kids who sit there and do that. I think back in our day, though, there was we're not playing on games and stuff, no?
No.
You know what I mean?
No, the ABC used to produce the books that you could do it in for kids.
Yeah.
And you sit there and do it. And I'm not sure how that happened for so long, but anyway, it probably just says a fair bit
He
about
only
what
gave
I'm
it up
like.
last year.
We used to work with someone that back in the day they used to they had a scrapbook. I think it was of neighbours, and they would cut out articles and photos of all the neighbours' stuff.
It was neighbours,
and then they would look through their scrapbook.
As
That
an
to me
adult.
is a sports neighbours scrapbook. That means
That's the sports version.
It's so strange.
Hey, Steve, last night was a giddy high, obviously. It was great cricket, but let's talk about Australia because they were woeful against New Zealand. Woeful.
Well, I do notice that Ricky Ponting's calling for Cam Green to be in there. I'm not sure why he's not in there in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an
the fourth
explosive
player.
talent.
Yeah.
Well, he opened the batting a few weeks ago.
Went to town.
yeah, they've just got to go with him. He's the X factor that can do some things. And when you have a result like you did against New Zealand, who aren't a bad side, by the way, they're pretty good.
No.
But, Australia have got to perform a lot better than that, and I think they need an X factor like Cam Green in there. But, yeah, it's a tough road for them. But, I think international cricket's really coming closer together. I think any team can beat any team on a given day now. It's not the West Indies dominating like they used to anymore. It's anyone can beat anyone, and I think this tournament's showing that so far.
Well, the West Indies don't care, so they're already out of it.
They were so bad.
They don't care about playing anymore. They're off. But I want to just change pace and get your opinion on Netball Australia. Can they dig themselves out of this financial hole?
Well, it's been a mess, and it's been appallingly handled. I would like to think that Gina Reinhart might rethink the sponsorship side of the West Australian angle and keep supporting the West Coast Fever. But I think the Diamonds have put themselves in a complete mess. And you know what? Cricket Australia are the same. And you know what? I've told you many times before what I think about their management of their sport because they're a basket case. When they're struggling for money and they can't even get an Ashes test into Perth, well, that tells you everything.
Yeah.
And Netball Australia, they're cash strapped too, and they're doing this now. There's so much grey area in taking sponsorship on. Yeah. I mean, you can go into Pat Cummins' cachet of sponsors and work out lots of stuff that he should be outraged by, but isn't. Yeah. And if these sports keep letting the tail wag the dog, they're going to dive further into the mire.
Well, and also, Steve, and I was saying it to the guys this morning, or it becomes a decision where you go, okay, Australian cricketers, you don't want to take X, Y, and Z sponsorship, then your pay is halved. We can't afford to keep paying.
Can't afford it.
So then we work out where everyone's morals lie.
Yeah, you watch them jump up then. And we'd all be... I said before, Steve, if you're living it true hard to the core, then all the best to you. But you just mentioned Pat Cummins, and once you do a bit of a look into different sponsors, you can make a case for any of them.
But what about the flip side to that?
I wonder how he fires up his stovetop, Pat.
The flip side to that, Steve, is that if and this is hypothetical, I'm not saying this is any particular athlete, but if an athlete has a genuine objection to a sponsor that is sponsoring the organisation, where do they stand? Because that if they truly don't want to be sponsored by that company, what do they have to give up the sport, or is there? They can what?
They can get on the board. They can get on the board and start making the decisions.
Because Natalie, what about the inclusion rounds when we're talking about the pride round, and then we all jump up in arms when someone doesn't put the pride jumper on? But also, where does it end as far
as sponsors go? Like if a white supremacist group gets the money up and says we want to sponsor, theoretically, it's hypothetical.
So maybe let's say it's an alcohol company.
It's hypothetical,
and someone in the Australian team lost a loved one to alcoholism or something like that. So I go, no, I'm not into it. I'm not playing.
You know what? But at the moment, what we've got are half-pregnant crusades. You either crusade or you don't.
Yeah, but I mean, when it's a team sport and it's only affecting one player, then what? It's such what I'm saying. It's nuanced. It's not black or white.
Yeah, no, it's not. But you know what that requires in the end? It requires a sporting body and an administration to be strong.
Yes,
and stick by its decisions of what it's doing, and
but also to communicate. I think the communication has been the letdown in several of these examples.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. They've handled it absolutely appallingly on all accounts that we're talking about. But you've got to be strong in your leadership. You've got to do your integrity reviews into the sponsorship deals that you're making. And then you make your decision and you stick by it.
Exactly. No, and then you set the precedent. So basically, if it's like if you start going down the track of going, okay, well then you can not wear this for that and blah blah blah, then that's what happens. If not, toe the company line. If you want to play this sport, if you want to be part of this team, this is what it is. So they've got to do either or.
Yeah, the conversation should have been.
It's got to be either or.
Oh yeah, it shouldn't have got to the stage that it did.
Yeah, so I know with the AFL and the Pride round earlier on, and this is not with the women's, they had a lot of consultation take place for months and months and months. So if they had this at Netball Australia, then they mightn't have seen themselves in this position.
And then I turn around and I think, Mark McGowan's urging Gina Reinhart to bring her money back. I go, because I don't know where Gina stands on any of her issues, and like I do understand the comment goes back to the 80s, which hopefully, she doesn't share that value and the company doesn't share those values, as we think, they wouldn't. But it's just it's confusing because then Mark goes, "Well, bring your money back," and it's like, "Well, wait, you've just their company's been ripped apart over the last week in the news." No, I don't blame them for taking their bat and ball and going home.
Well, we took our money from Telethon, but
yes, and Telethon.
This could have a wider precedent too, because lots of companies might have a look at it and say, where's that void going to be filled of the money that's gone from Gina? And they'll go, well, why would we want to sponsor them if we're going to get our brands trashed by a prissy player?
Yeah. What are they going to look into our past, or what are they going? What bad association they're going to have with our company, and then they're going to trash us?
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Yeah, it's a difficult one.
It's a messy situation.
There is also a bit of breaking news, and it's not going to surprise anyone, I don't think. But St Kilda have just put out an email, saying that at 11 a.m. this morning they'll be making a club announcement.
What a surprise! Ross the boss.
Yeah, okay. Ross the boss is back.
He is.
Yeah, so 11 o'clock our time this morning, that's what you can probably expect.
We can look forward to that.
Good on you, Steve. Yeah. Thanks for your time, mate. Really appreciate it.
Everything old is new again.
Yeah, that's right.
Love and unicorns to you all.
Bye, mate.
And also to you.
Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Well, we've got to start off with last night's World Cup game between India and Pakistan, and it's so interesting to be in Australia, and the MCG had 90-odd thousand people there just to see these two countries who hate each other. And it went
down to the wire. Yeah. Amazing match.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many Indians and Pakistani people over on the East Coast and all throughout Australia, which is great.
Two places that hate each other playing the gentleman's game.
Yes. It's amazing.
Well said.
On neutral territory, which is great.
So it took the great man Virat Kohli to be able to steer India over the line, and they were staring down the battle. They were going to be absolutely wiped off the cricket pitch up until he came onto the field and started smashing them over the fence. So it got pretty tight, and towards the end you thought they still can't do it. They needed too many runs. He kind of thought the same.
I was kind of pumping myself up to hit 2 sixes when we needed 28 of 8, and that became 16 of 6. So I'm kind of lost for words. I have no idea.
28 off... what did he say? 28 off 8?
Don't ask me.
And he smashed 2 sixes in a row, and all of a sudden,
16
boom,
off 6.
they're back in the game.
Yep.
The last ball of the innings was a wide, which allowed them to draw the match.
Yes.
And then
another ball.
They get an extra ball because it was a wide.
Yeah, right.
How embarrassing. That guy can't go home. That bowler. He can't go home.
God, yeah. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to ram it into the legs, onto the leg side, because the batsmen always try to make room to be able to hit it on the offside, and he just got it wrong. Yeah, so anyway, great game last night and great viewing for everybody to check that one out.
I'm busy.
He was super busy.
Certainly better than the Australia-New Zealand match on the weekend.
Oh, they were pathetic.
Atrocious.
They were pathetic, actually.
Atrocious.
Yeah.
You wonder how they can pull it back from there.
Well, the worst thing was, that was a double... it was a double poor effort from Australia playing cricket that night, getting smashed by New Zealand, and at the same time the Wildcats got pants by the Jack Jumpers. By
horrendous. They were atrocious
too. Bad, unbelievably bad. Consolation Cup was on yesterday, and Australia got the victory. They were able to win that series.
Yeah.
Now they won the Com Games, the Quad Series, and this event, which is the Consolation Cup against New Zealand. But all the weekend, every article you read about was to do with the funding and
the
Hancock
sponsorship,
pulling their money and saying, stick it, because we can't, what more do you want from us?
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? The comments that were made in the 80s by Lang were shocking and terrible.
Yeah.
And then you think, okay, does Gina share those opinions? She hasn't come out and said whether she does or not.
No.
Which I'm hoping she doesn't.
Of course she wouldn't.
I know, but she hasn't. Why wouldn't it just come out and go, I agree that was terrible and we've all moved on. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's tough. And now the girl who, at the centre of this, now she's feeling really guilty.
Yeah, Janelle Wallam. And she's a great West Australian. She's a very talented
so
athlete.
Now she's like, oh my God, I've lost all this money.
Yeah.
Now Mark McGowan's come forward and said that he's urging Gina's company to reconsider. The West Coast Fever, they've lost their sponsorship as well now.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, mate.
Damage,
it's a big deal.
So
it's a big deal.
I mean,
I don't think you can be linked. I don't think anyone can be linked with their anyone who's related to them, family, from comments made in the 80s. I think it's such a...
Well, I mean, that's where her wealth comes from. Like, that's why she can afford it.
Yeah, but you can stand for completely different values.
Yes. But then stand for it. Then stand for it. That's easily fixed. Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, she's got all the money. She can do whatever she wants. I mean, that's the argument. This would be a great opportunity for another company to step in, because it's at the
Yeah,
you're never going to get
Matt.
more exposure than now if another company did want to pick it up and chuck some money their way.
Agree with that wholeheartedly. And finally, the UFC is coming to Perth in February, as we know. It's going to be big. Robert Whittaker, who's one of the biggest stars in the UFC, Australian guy, he's fighting there. And just yesterday it was confirmed that Alexander Volkanovski, who's supposed to be the best in the world, he's an Aussie bloke as well, is going to be fighting there as well. This is going to be the biggest UFC event we've ever seen with these types of fighters fighting in Australia. Great stuff.
Shaun Sport is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.